Welcome, Bills Mafia, to Buffalo Bills or Bust, the podcast dedicated to all things Buffalo Bills. I'm Tom Murphy. Join in as we talk about the Buffalo Bills, of course, and also the other 31 teams in the league that will watch us win the Super Bowl or bust.
Hey.
And welcome again to the Buffalo Bills or Bust podcast. I'm Tom Murphy. And how about those Buffalo Bills?
Pretty good.
I am joined today by my good buddy Jason Thurston, a lifelong Buffalo Bills fan. What a game today, huh?
A win is a win is a win is a win. I feel like I've been saying that little trope over and over again, but as long as it's a win, I'm very happy for that. 10-3 is great.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things, we hope, I got used so much to us, winning every game by 30, like last year, every time we win. Nowadays, it's just like, let's just win by one.
Well, that was the whole thing. They're making a whole big thing about how we weren't winning any close games. And so I guess this is a good thing. At least that kind of subverts that notion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're winning way too many close games.
Let's stop that. Yeah, let's reverse that. We should look at that.
I know. Yeah, and as of now, we are still the one seed in the AFC for at least another 6 days.
A beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And we just have we have a couple games while we currently record this. We have a couple games to wait for, to see if we lose anything. Looks like the Chiefs are going to win, but
that does not look like a healthy matchup at all.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
For a second, I thought, okay, maybe Denver. It's a it's a division matchup. It could be dicey, but you could just sort of see. I watched a few plays of it, and you could see that there was really no chance. They look kind of drought Billsy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's, that was just a given. You just kind of hope for the best. But as long as we do our part, everything will face it. It's just 1 week at a time, as I always say.
I feel like you got to sort of presume the win. Because if you don't win, what's the point? If you can't win, they won't.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's sometimes I find it a little, I find it a little futile to just, root for another team to lose.
I always worry karmically on that because it feels like when I say, okay, well, the Dolphins are playing this team and maybe they'll have a chance that they'll fall apart. It always seemed to jinx the Bills.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like last Sunday with all of those teams losing. Yeah. It was like, that never happens to us.
That was beautiful. That almost felt better than, in a way, I don't want to say it's better than watching a game because I'm a Bills fan and that's really what I'm all about in football is being a Bills fan. But there was something to be said for being able to have a few drinks, get relaxed, and watch games that there wasn't the same level of, you didn't have to worry about the Bills doing bad. You knew that that the worst case scenario, it goes as expected and it didn't go as expected. And
yeah, you just hope for us to do our part, and then let the chips fall where they lay. And
it was dominoes. It was just they fell one by one, and loved it.
But we're both riding on a high right now, of course, because this game went the way we had hoped. Well, at least the win. Yeah, exactly. Like we got the W. When before the game, you see we win 20 to 12. You're kind of like, we should have won by more. But when it's actually happening, you're just like, oh my God, thank God we won by that much. Thank God we won by 8.
For my heart, I would really rather that we win by 30 or 40 points every time. But there is something to be said about that rush of a win that was hard fought for. Or I think in this case, even though the fact that it was ugly, that almost made it better. That almost made it more important in the long run. I feel like the fact that you can put this game in the win column, they were not rushed. They were out yardaged, something like 309 to 232, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And
usually lose games like that.
They're not in the deficit on that one. And, it almost feels, it didn't feel like we stole this game, but in a way you could say we stole this game.
Yeah, I can see that. Considering it seemed at times where we were going to absolutely kind of give it away like we did with the Vikings game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the blocked punt, which we will get to later, of course. But like, it was just like, oh, is this that turning point?
The weird thing about that punt, I don't know, maybe we should wait for later on this one, but was, and you said it at one point, and I sort of felt in the background, was that at the time it felt bad. It felt almost like a Billsy play. But in the long run, if they had actually kicked it away, the Jets would have had better field position. It was still a 2-score game, albeit an 11-point game, but you still got a lot of different moving parts. And we wound up getting the ball in much better field position than we would have otherwise, or they got it in much worse field position than otherwise.
I know. Yeah, the 2 points almost seemed insignificant. Like at first, like especially the angle, you're like, oh my god, where's that ball at? And if they hop on it, and then it's a completely different game.
I had to stop myself from typing so many times to not jinx it. Not that I'm superstitious at all, but I'm superstitious. So,
and we could also add that, like, you and I, Jason, we've been friends for 12 years. Yes. We probably share about 1,000 text messages during the week, and probably half of those are during game time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, it's crazy. But
commentary,
so we can let's just start kind of from the beginning of this game.
Sure.
You know, we get the kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
We start, kind of typical, like, play calling, and Allen misses Diggs wide open on third down.
Yeah. And that was sort of a start of like the beginning of the game. I mean, they were showing the stats from his last game, and 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 200 and something yards. And I'm saying he's not going to do that again. I don't think the Jets defense is amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, they're not the throwaway team they were for the past few years.
Yeah,
you still think like a couple weeks ago when we lose to the Jets, it's like what the fuck, we lost to the Jets. Now it's kind of like, wow, we beat the Jets.
Well, it was almost like at the beginning of the game they were talking about them in tones as if they were the favorite at a certain point, where it's like the Jets could get a sweep of the season series with the Bills, and then they this position. And through the whole game, I mean, I tend to be a little overly sensitive about how they're portrayed in a game, but I did feel like
really you get sensitive about you getting sensitive about the commentary. That's it's I do have to say I was going to mention this later, but Tony Romo actually seems to love the Bills.
He loves the Bills, but I think there's something about a narrative that he falls into a little bit. But I mean, he did say a few times he did call the Bills the best team in football, so I can't really
he's nicer to a lot of our players than I am to them.
It was more that he was getting so excited about the idea, the concept of a Mike White. Oh, Mike White could do this, and then he'll become a superstar in the NFL for the rest of his name will be cast. And to his credit, Mike White looked really good in the game against a very good defense at times.
Yeah, really was a bit of an overstatement, but like better than we would have liked, I would say. It was just. He looked good. Like, he looked good, but like I wasn't like scared of him. He's no, it's no Joe Burrow out there.
I'll have to play it off a little bit because I missed some of that. The internet went out here for a little bit. I apologize.
Oh, it's all good. But no, it's like you were saying, Mike White looked really good. I mean, it's he looked good enough.
Yeah. I could see where he could be a superstar in the future is what I got from that. And I didn't feel like the Bills were playing him poorly. There were a few catches where Trey White was right on his man. Dane Jackson even was right on his man. But he just got it in that window to Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson looks like he is an emerging superstar in the league. He's just somebody it's hard to cover. He's like Diggs in the route running, where it's just it's almost impossible even for somebody like Trey White. And Trey White was a little slowed down by the 8. You could see that he was still
absolutely
not totally 100%. But you can see where Garrett Wilson is going to be a nightmare. So even holding him to what we did, like no overly killer plays, I think was a bit of a success.
Yeah, that play where he just runs that like kind of post right over the middle, it's like clockwork for them.
Yeah,
to get the ball out quick to him, and it's like that's something we're going to have to worry about for years.
Yeah. No, he is going to be. I don't remember when I was a kid. Al Toon was the. I hated to see him there.
I remember good old Al Toon from the football cards.
Wilson's much better than Toon, but that was how I felt about Toon at the time.
I feel all the players nowadays are just so much better than they were back then. But it's like, we still compare them. We still compare players like, oh yeah, it was like, like Altoon back then, but like Altoon right now, he'd be a number 6 receiver on
probably
the Lions.
That's wise anyway, definitely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But so it's like, and we do have to say with the first half, it was just crazy. It was no scoring until the last drive. We tend to joke about how like Sam Martin never gets on the field, the punter.
Yeah,
and he was like
7
5 punts. Yeah, he had 5 punts. Most of them were just fantastic, and but we did our job on defense. Mostly like we held them to a few first downs. They did much better on offense than we did, for sure.
Yeah, so it almost felt like the dam would start. I was a little worried that the dam would break on their side first. It felt like they were starting to get some drives that would get some first downs. We got a couple third downs conversions, but it didn't work out that way. They were able to at least, like the defense was able to hold it for a while, hold it down, and make sure that they were even as the offense sputtered a bit against a defense that I think is one of the better, perhaps a future elite defense in the NFL. They were able to.
They absolutely kind of take us out of our rhythm.
Yes,
the Allen designed runs, which work so well. They just that's just not something we can do against the Jets.
Yeah,
they're completely prepared for it. Anytime Allen does a run, it's usually where it's like, yep, he sees an opening and he just goes.
Yeah.
Like he always says, he's like, green light, let's just go.
No, it's
It's but like he gets these it seems like they tried a few like designed runs and it was just like bam, they got him like right away. Like almost everything.
Yeah,
did those reverses. Yeah, like those reverses to McKenzie and such. Like they actually were well executed by us, but like bam, stopped him in like 5 yards.
There was a James Cook run, which I thought was designed perfectly. It was an end around. And I think against most other defenses, they would have gotten a first down. And they were lucky that they were not blown up in the backfield for a 5-yard loss. It was almost, I could almost give Cook some credit for getting either a 0-yard or 1-yard gain on the play.
Oh yeah, for sure. That seems to be a big credit to our running backs, I sometimes feel, and it's always like I don't know, it's always a bittersweet moment where like, wow, he got like 1 yard, which should have been like a 3-yard loss. And
James Cook had 4 carries for 6 yards, and I'm not remotely worried about it.
He earned those 6 yards.
Yeah,
not it wasn't like Zach Moss like getting the ball and then like deciding, thinking he's Le'Veon Bell, like, oh, where do I run, and then bam.
Maybe the 20th move will be the one that gets him to daylight.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me just
Moss? Yeah. How's Moss doing in Indianapolis?
Don't know, don't care.
That's probably the right answer.
Yeah,
Evan Singletary, on the other hand, I thought there was one he did not feel like he was used much at all. He got 4.9 yards per carry, but there was one run that I think it almost was it changed a drive where you saw the value of Singletary. And it's almost a good balance because Singletary is not getting these huge games, these huge statistics, but he has key moments where he'll take 5 or 6 for his size. It's amazing. This is amazing. He'll take 5 or 6 backs and just move them back and get 16 yards out of what you thought would be a 5-yard gain.
Oh yeah,
even though it only happens once in a while, maybe it'll keep his price down, and we'll be able to keep him in 2020.
Oh, exactly. Yes. No, I always like the affordability quality of players, and it's I'm not holding out too much hope because I know there are definitely defenses out there who look at Singletary like the runs we see where he's this 5'7" guy. He's like he's the size of like. He's the size of like some of my teenage cousins, and he's dragging guys twice his size, yards and such. It's like coaches, like other coaches and scouts are seeing that and being like, yeah, this is a situational player we could use.
He's at least as good as Chase Edmonds, who got a $6.5 million a year, I believe. He had the highest contract in the offseason. The one positive is that there are supposed to be a lot of running backs on the market. Saquon Barkley et al. And hopefully he'll get lost somehow in the shuffle. I'm not counting on it, but
it's like with all the players we're constantly talking about the other players we have to sign. This can go into like the how great the defense was today.
Oh, that's a thing. Yeah, that's to me the takeaway.
Obviously, Tremaine Edmonds, who has been probably the most polarizing player. Yes, Tremaine Edmonds been like probably the most polarizing player on the Bills for the past few years, and he started. I think people are really starting to see his value.
Yeah, you see a lot less. I don't want to say hit pieces, but hit tweets on him these days. Yeah. If you mention at one point last year, if you mentioned Edmonds' name, anything positive about him on Twitter, you would just ratio. Would feel the ratio, and you would. Just
and I know you. Yeah, you've always been a very staunch Tremaine Edmonds supporter. I've never been anti-Edmonds. I think, as you know, with Edmonds, I was just kind of like, he's going to command a high price tag.
Yeah.
Is he going to be worth it? Is he that non-expendable?
And that's where I almost that's where I
feel like he's absolutely not expendable at this point.
Yeah, and that's where one of the things that I'll always sort of almost bring myself back down to earth when I think I know something about Edmonds and think I know more than these people about Edmonds is ultimately I trust the process with him. Whatever Bean says, if Bean and McDermott know whether he's performing in their defense, what he adds to that defense, and I suspect that a lot of his play, well, there's do you watch the TV show Inside Man by any chance? It's at Stanley Tucci.
I do not. But I do know Stanley Tucci, and I love him.
Yeah, Stanley Tucci plays this convict who's also amazing at solving crimes. He's on death row, but he is an expert crime solver. And one of the things that he says that he brings up as a point that I thought was a brilliant scene, a great line, was that we're trained to see what is there and miss what's not there. And there's one point where he's watching this video of a guy who disappeared, and the whole point, it's not that he disappeared, it's not what you see that will give you the hint. It's what's not there, what's missing, what are you not seeing. And I think that's something with Edmonds that he does, is his importance is seen mostly when he's not there. And when he's playing, it's hard to see what he takes away in the middle. You don't notice that the quarterback is not throwing to the tight end for like a 10, 15, 20-yard route. You don't notice that they're trying to throw to the sidelines because, and getting lighter, shorter routes because they know that Edmonds commands the field. And that, I think, is really where it turned the corner. Oddly enough, ironically, because he was injured, I think that might have been the final, I don't want to say final straw because that sounds negative, the final straw that broke down, let's say, the Edmonds haters. Because in the two games that he missed, you could see that the opponents could just feast in the middle. You saw, as I was watching the Browns game, every other play, you would see Brissett, who's not a great quarterback, who the Bills have owned. You could see where he was feasting in the middle there, that they would get the extra few yards on the run, a run that they might not have tried had Edmonds been there.
Oh, yeah. No, when Edmonds is out, you just notice the middle of the field just seems, a lot more wide open. Because we're missing our inside man, as you would say.
That brings it right around to the callback.
Full circle.
Full circle, yes. Time is a flat circle.
I don't know if he ever really had a nickname, but now he can be known as the inside man.
The inside man. That would be a great name.
Let's just call him Stanley Tucci.
And everybody loves Stanley Tucci, so I would be hard-pressed to find haters for Stanley Tucci.
Tremaine Tucci Edmonds. I like it. We have absolutely trademarked that one.
Tucci gang.
Tucci
Edmonds gang, Edmonds gang. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. But he had a great, speaking of defense, he had a great game. My God, Rousseau.
Oh, geez. You look across his stat line, and it's all small numbers, but there's so many of them. He had 2 QB hits. He had a tackle for loss. He had 2 sacks. And the first sack was kind of one of those sacks that people would criticize him for in college, that he would just come up and clean things up. But the other was just, he destroyed. And you saw him back all game.
And he had another batted ball. It seems like they have to have that as almost like a full-time stat now. He has it seems like he has one of those a game.
It's become more of a stat recently. I think it's something that's become a bigger part of the game.
I think it's more of a stat on the websites or like the outlets we see. It's like not something you'll see on really so much on like CBS or Fox, but it's still it's so huge. We had a couple of those today, but Rousseau, and it's like comes back to like the injury to Miller, which and it seems like the past 2 weeks without Von Miller, it seems like they're all like Von Miller is somehow playing vicariously through this defensive line. The defensive line has just been absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
the past 2 games and two division games that we had to win.
Yeah, that's good.
And especially with I've been I don't want to start talking negatively about players on this first show that we have.
Yeah,
but I've been a little little hard on AJ Epinesa. Of course, that would be fair to say. I've been hard on him. I was very excited. You remember how excited I was when we drafted him. Like I literally texted you during the pandemic.
No, you screamed it in the phone. Right, I got a drunken message. It was awesome.
Oh yes, and
AJ Epinesa.
Okay, it was, and we got him in the second round, which was just perfect. He's like absolutely really come on the past 2 games, 2 sacks. He now has 5.5 on the season. Like I think quintupling his career. His short career numbers. But it's just great to see, especially going forward, like we didn't have Von Miller last year and we were still a Super Bowl contender. And now like he's out for the year. It's a shame.
Yeah. To me, I think they can overcome it because they were the Super Bowl favorites when they got Miller, and Miller just sort of threw it through the roof. I think the Miller was an amazing signing, particularly in that it was so thoughtful. It was the idea that he could come in. He got a great nickname, as you're talking about, the closer. And that's important. And I still think they can win and be fine. I don't think it completely derails them. But what I really don't like about it is I don't know. I'm a fan of narrative. I kind of love in sports the stories behind things. And bringing in Miller, the idea of him coming in and being that guy who, if we had him in the KC game, the 13 seconds might not even be a thing. He might have been. He was got to do this. And in the KC game, he came in and he had 2 key moments where the one where he stopped Mahomes when he was running around, and you knew at that point, every Bills instinct in me said that Mahomes is going to get away, throw a touchdown. And
we've seen this story before.
Yeah, it's the story. We've seen this before. We know what happens here. And then all of a sudden, at the last second, Von Miller comes in, gets him by the foot, and you're like, yeah, that's why we got him.
It was like a great script coming out of frame and just like, bam.
That's where the narrative worked so well. Absolutely. And that's where I really hit in the heart with the loss of Miller for the season. On that note, can I actually ask, I'm wondering if this is something that I saw, or if it's like, because I feel like this is something that the Cover One guys, people like that, will tell me I'm completely crazy on this. But I wondered before this game, with the loss of Miller, part of having Von Miller there, what it helped was that they could use, particularly while Trey White was out, they could use four men, a 4-man rush. They didn't have to blitz. In this game, that we blitzed a lot more. It worked very well for Russo.
Oh yeah. Oh, we blitzed more than we have all season. We're a non-blitzing team, and we were blitzing a lot today.
the one great one was where Tremaine Edmonds, I know Tremaine Edmonds, but Tremaine Edmonds came in and just annihilated White.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I saw. And White got rid of the ball, but I just imagine like Tremaine Edmonds being 6'6" and just like this, like 2% body fat, just like gunning down on you. You just just imagine what like Mike White was like going through his mind, and he was already taking a beating at that point. Yeah. And it's just like, oh god, like you just like he was just like dope. He just got rid of that ball as soon as he could, and. But yeah, no, it was funny. Yeah, we were talking about like Von Miller, like the closer. We already have Tremaine Edmonds as Stanley Tucci. Is like, I don't think Von Miller would appreciate the nickname Kyra Cedric.
What's her name? Jackson? I forget what the character name is. Brenda Lee Jackson, I believe.
Brenda Lee, wow, that's a great name. I never watched that show.
I remember more from a Bob's Burgers joke, like a cutaway Bob's Burgers joke, where Louise Belcher. Is trying to get backstage to see Boys for Now, the boy band that she loves. And one of the many little cutaway gags is she says, I'm Brenda Lee Jackson and I'm here to solve a murder. And that actually made me watch the whole binge the show.
Oh wow! See, I may have seen that thing, and I was just like, I was probably watched an episode. I was like, I don't get this joke. I obviously need to start watching more TV.
Oh yes, everything can be solved by watching much more television. Kids at home, watch more television.
Exactly. Yes. Instead of watching Bills game highlights from 2 years ago, I should probably be watching more Hulu. So the rest of the half, we're still like kind of in like the 0-0 phase.
Yeah.
Then we start to get the plays that are going to be the highlight reels of the week.
Oh yeah.
Remember we got Josh Allen and his hurdling. You know how I feel about the hurdling.
I don't want it to become something that becomes a bad thing. But I know how you feel too. And one thing I'll say about Josh Allen is like a great actor in a Moliere play or a WWE superstar. He knows how to take a fall. I think he's proven that he knows how to hit the floor and not. I hope this is not something that I'm going to regret saying at some point, but it kind of sets him for a brand. I think it also instills this crazy fear in the defense. They know that might happen. They have to account for it, and he might take your soul.
Oh yeah. Oh no, absolutely. It's it's getting to this point, like, and this was an ugly hurdle. Every time, the first time when he did it against Minnesota, it was just like fantastic. His third game, it was like, oh, that was what we needed.
We might have something here.
Yeah, and now when he does it, it's just like, oh my god, please don't.
Right, Josh.
Like you're just waiting for him to like fall like the wrong way. And today's hurdle especially was just like helicopter boom. But this guy,
double hurdle.
He's just incredible. And
it might have been his best hurdle, but it was his scariest hurdle. So ugliest and scariest.
Oh, for sure. But and also it came at a perfect time.
Yes.
We needed it. We didn't we didn't do much with it afterwards.
Yeah.
But we go to the drive right before the half.
Yes.
Which was it was we love the whole like player of the week, player of the month thing.
Yeah.
Dalton Knox gets player of the drive on that one.
He kept it alive earlier on too, right? There was he had a small pass early on, like that started the drive.
Yeah. Can't exactly remember that right now.
Admittedly, I'm on my fifth drink, but yeah.
Oh yeah. It's no, of course. I mean, it's Celebration Sunday for sure.
Yes.
But sorry, with Dawson Knox, 4th and 1. I'm definitely expecting, like, they're just trying to draw him off sides. It's not going to happen. Dawson Knox comes over, gets right behind center, and C.J. Mosley like hurdled this line.
I did not believe
it. An absolute professional. Like he just went like, it was like he just panicked and just went bam, hit him, gave us the first down. And then just like plays later, uh, pass to Knox,
Right.
makes that great flip that I'm like thinking, that's going to be at the 1 inch line, but what a play. You see on the replay, it's just like, it was a work of art. He just gets that ball right over the goal line.
Yeah, he's going backwards. He just barely went over it in real time. And plus, I think it's another one of those things where it's like almost like an expectation, and unfortunately a negative expectation. Knox has a tendency to make an amazing play for like a 20, 30-yard catch right at the goal line and just get called short. And I've seen, I think, 3 or 4 different times he's had touchdowns overturned. And it works out okay, but it's kind of interesting because he gets a lot of touchdowns as it is. And still.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's, it was just great. And it's also like the entire, narrative this year. He hasn't had the greatest year. Obviously some personal tragedy early in the year.
Yeah.
It's just so great for him to have like 2 huge moments right before the half. And also the 7-0, it almost felt like 21-0 at that point, the way the game had been going.
Yeah. Well, I think I said at one point, it turned out to be correct, that the first team that scores, you knew was going to win. The defense was just, it didn't play out exactly like I thought because they got the touchdown on the Jets got the touchdown on the opening drive in the second half. But ultimately, they still, I think, had the advantage at that point.
Oh yeah, the first half definitely felt like soccer, with the World Cup. Like it was like 1-0. Like the Bills we're gonna run around. The crowd just went wild, like as if
things up.
I've always said 7-0's like 1-0 in it's a 1-0 in soccer, but it's probably actually more like 0.5 to nothing. But let's get into the second half because all of a sudden things started to change. We think we have all the momentum. They just kind of. The third and longs, it was a huge story of today. The Jets offense was more than good on third and long. The Bills offense was atrocious, which you can also reverse those to the Bills defense was not good on.
Interesting thing, the Bills were 2 and 12, 2 for 12 on third down conversions, and both were the same drive. That they got the 2/3, and then they didn't wind up scoring on that drive. They ended up, I think, punting when they were almost in field goal range. At one point, that was the thing that I'd written down. I think I mentioned this to you for the whole story. That I said I wrote something down, and I hope I can say it on the podcast. But I thought that third down conversion, if they could convert that third down, that would be the game. That would set the tone for the rest of the game. And then they got it, and immediately Allen had the huge sack to go to 2nd and 19, I think. And then they came back, and there was another 3rd and long. And I thought, okay, well, if the Bills make this will be a good thing for the Bills. And it did wind up being an embarrassing thing, and it might have been, ultimately butterfly flaps its wings, and there's a hurricane in another place. It might have eventually led to the win. But yeah, the third down, really, when you think about the fact that the third down conversions were both in that same drive that didn't lead to a score, that really kind of makes it that much more stark that the troubles we had on third down. And how amazing it was that we were able to pull this game off.
And especially, the second half was just like a little more interesting than we would like, of course. We're done with the close, fun games. We like the show. We like the blowouts. One big thing in the second half, McKenzie, the drops, they're getting to be too much. It's almost getting to the point where it's a liability. Gabe Davis has a lot of drops, but we definitely forgive him because he makes huge plays.
Well, I was almost hitting the point where, I don't know if you remember back when Thurman Thomas said that if Scott Norwood missed another field goal or extra point, he would have been dropped off somewhere over North Dakota. And I almost felt that way with Gabe Davis when, the thing that he's done amazing that made me think, okay, this is a special guy, was in that Colts game, the Colts playoff game, where in that one drive, he showed just how aware he is, how spatially aware he is on the field. And he's just the king of what Nate Burleson calls the toe drag swag. And when I saw him and there's been a couple games like a couple things like this where there was a catch where he almost got it, but he had the 1 foot out in the ultimate thing. I'm sitting there like, oh dear, is he broken in all different ways? But I have this feeling now that after he got the 2 catches later on in the game, that I think that might put him back on track. And I have a feeling that against the Dolphins, maybe we might see one of those typical Gabe Davis games where he just breaks out and like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, maybe. So
absolutely, yeah. No, I'm all about McKenzie's just such a great Buffalo figure. I want him to. We all want him to be successful. One thing I got to say, like Khalil Shakir, no catches, but had a very influential draw on a pass interference play. So it's like I'm even like kind of like, he was a little. He may have even been a little more effective than McKenzie a bit today.
Let's balancing the. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. So good. Quickly, we got to get to Tyler Bass making Bass-O-Matic, yes.
Yeah.
2 huge field goals in. We haven't even mentioned how disgusting the conditions were in Buffalo. It's becoming a common thing in Buffalo, like from like pretty much late October to at the end of the year.
I think it was the second field goal was the one where I was sort of sitting there. It was almost I was taking Bass for granted until I realized what he had actually done. Was that I sort of lost track of where we actually were on the field. So I thought it was a much easier field goal than it actually was. But then you realize that it was a 49-yard field goal, and you looked at the conditions and how windy it was. It can't be underestimated. And it got them to a point where they were 20. You felt like they could score at that point. You felt like okay, we can get to at least a certain point, and even if the Jets defense can be stifling, we can find, as a good offense, we can find a way to score.
Absolutely. And it was also the fact that that field goal, it didn't seem to be like, ooh, it kind of swayed and then the wind brought it in. It was just like, it seemed like that ball was kicked so hard it cut right through that.
Yeah.
Wind. It was insane. And then that brings us to 20-7, feeling very good there. Almost just like, now we just need to run the clock out. Blocked punt. Yeah. It was just like, womp, womp, womp.
That whole drive was that was one of those. There's John Boyes of SB Nation does a great thing on the worst drive ever that led to all these different things, like Andy Reid becoming a coach of KC, and I forget who the coach of the Jets losing their job, and it's this whole long thing where they just keep going backwards. And that drive just felt like that kind of just damning drive that could theoretically change a game. You got a false start.
Yeah. It's like something that
holding call.
It's something we've seen before, and it was just it was just way too disheartening. But also, I was thinking it could be worse. It's like we're going to have a better chance to punt it, like better chance to push them back further, and it's like maybe that'll if they come away with no points, which they ended up doing, it's almost like a wash, as if you gave up it's like you gave up a field goal with one less point. That next drive to get it at half field, and the D line, of course. Like there's not, we can't talk enough about the D line today.
Yeah,
from everybody.
The Jets were down Alo Tucker, and they lost, I think, Fant midway through the game. But even like, so,
it was like across the board. Oliver, Oliver is definitely one of my personal favorites. He's becoming everyone's personal favorite. Daquan Jones, the guy we had never heard of before we signed him in the offseason, he has just been like a complete superstar.
He might be. I mean, if Vaughn hadn't got hurt, he would be the second one. But he might, at this point, end up being the best offseason acquisition we had, because he makes everyone around him better. Early in the season, he was drawing the double teams, yet still had one of the better pass rush win ratios in the league. I don't know if you've seen those little diagrams, little XY axis things, where they'll show all the players around, and you can see both double teamed and winning pass rush ratio, both in the upper right hand quarter, almost near Micah Parsons, but not quite Micah Parsons, because Micah Parsons is playing like Lawrence Taylor level. So.
It's Micah Parsons already like. He's making his case for the Hall of Fame, like being a season and a half into the NFL. But like for the defensive line, from like Shaq Lawson to
it seemed like an afterthought when they signed him. It was like Lawrence Yikes, Lawrence Phillips.
Yeah.
Phillips called. He was just like, I'll come along, but can my friend Shaq come back too? And I mean, for me at that time, I wasn't excited about what he could bring to the football team, but I was excited they were playing a Thanksgiving game, and we could see them again doing the eating thing, and it was more like Shaq Lawson's attitude. But the last 3 or 4 games, Shaq Lawson has been on fire. I mean, beyond just the sack we saw in this game, he's stopping the run.
Oh, he's always been an overachiever with us. It has always felt, it's it's just been absolutely, fantastic. I mean, and he just absolutely crushed Mike White. We got to say, we got to, as much as we love the Bills here, we have to give credit where credit's due. Mm-hmm. Mike White, he came on the losing end. He absolutely Mike White was resilient as hell this game.
Yeah, definitely better than the last time we played him, where we got the 4 interceptions and just I was starting to get a little tired because Mike White comes out, has a great game 2 games before playing the Bills, and I'm in New York. We're both in New York. We're getting all this. I'm listening to the fan on the way to work, and I keep hearing all this stuff. Mike White is going to save the Jets. He's bringing them back. He can do this. He does things that Zach Wilson can't possibly do. He steps in and gets the ball to them perfectly right on the net numbers. And I'm thinking, we've heard this story before. And it was the Bills who stopped this story before. Exactly, and when are the Bills going to get credit for stopping being a team that can stop Mike White? And I was like, okay, we're going to repeat this and we're going to do this again, are we?
Mike White seems to be this great story, especially for a guy who's played six games in his NFL career.
Yeah. And you have one promo, Mr. QB critique, talking about him as this guy who he thinks he did tone it down to the point where he's not saying he's going to be elite, but he's saying that he's showing that he belongs in the league and will at the very least have a job for the rest of his career after this stint. And that I think is fair. And he impressed me a lot more. I came in kind of scoffing at Mike White and kind of holding myself back for superstition to not say, okay, we're going to destroy Mike White. We've done this before. But even in a game where I think we held Mike White back, he showed me that he is an NFL quarterback, and I have to give him respect. I really do.
Oh, absolutely. And he comes back in for the third time in the game.
Oh my God. That's what I'm sort of sitting here like, how are they not going to?
I know, yeah. And it's like, this last drive, they get the ball back, almost to end the game. Bam, bam, bam. 4th down. Another guy, I believe it was a little hard to tell. I think Terrell Dotson. I think he was the one who swatted the.
I love to see ball.
Yeah. And we walk away with the 20-12 victory. And next week we go on to the Miami Dolphins.
Oh boy!
Saturday night. It's this game is pretty much the AFC East championship.
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you see next week?
Well, I see. I'm going to get worried because I think the Dolphins are a very good team, but there's a lot of factors that the Dolphins are really going through a ringer right now. They had to play 2 games on the West Coast, and they'll be coming back with a shorter rest than we had. And in the first game that they played, Tua Tagovailoa, who has looked really good this year, they got pressure on him. The 49ers were able to put some pressure on him. And that's the thing that I've always kind of noticed with him is I don't think that he has quite come past that yet. He looks like he is on the verge of going to the upper echelon, but but despite that, I still think he can be. He hasn't proven that he can't be rattled and taken out of his game. And the Bills have a good defense for doing that. I'm curious to see what happens tonight. I would love for there to be a 2-game cushion. But the Dolphins are a weird team because you've got all those good players on offense. I'm very glad that White is back, even though he looked a little slowed down in this game against Hill and against Waddle. I guess he's a good, but we match up well with Gesicki these days, where we didn't before. That's why he used to kill us all the time. But the defense confounds me because there's so many good players on that defense. Yet it still seems their weak spot. It still seems you've got Howard, you've got Byron Jones, you've got they just brought in Bradley Chubb, right? That's it feels like this defense, its parts should be that's what scares me a little bit. But I also have a feeling that the Dolphins are a young team, or a young, at least winning team, that hasn't really been tested. I think this is the point where hopefully I think the Bills can come in with that great advantage. But if they start slowly and have 2 or 3 bad drives, a couple turnovers, I do worry that momentum could shift very fast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's we're gonna have to play better offensively than we have the past 2 games.
Definitely.
If the defense plays like it has the past 2 games, I almost feel pretty confident.
I'm looking for Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau to be in the backfield. I think Duquan Jones is going to be a big part of it. If they can get Tua onto the run, and if you've got Edmonds in the middle, sort of blocking the idea of Hill getting those short passes and taking them, making them 20, 30, 40-yard plays, and you got White also cutting them off for the long pass, I feel like we matched up very well with Miami's stellar offense.
Especially like taking away the long pass, that is definitely their strong game.
Yeah.
And if our defensive line can get to Tua, I think it can be a wrap. Big thing is the offense. It's, they have their moments, but it still seems like the offense is not at pre-bye week level just yet.
Yeah. So you've got a tired team and a defense that has not been overwhelming. They've got to just basically go in there and take control of the game, set the tone, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, especially like we have the one game on them, the tiebreaker. We can definitely do ourselves a huge favor by winning this game. And it's the Dolphins. Me and you, we've hated the Dolphins since as long as we can remember.
With all the Patriots' success, you forget how much the Dolphins are the true rivals. When we were good, they were the team that we had to battle, that we would have to get past to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and like me and you we're of a certain age, as opposed to some of the younger Bills fans who just think Patriots, Patriots, Patriots. I always even hated the Dolphins, like even post Brady. It's just, I mean, because for some reason I have respect for Brady, despite how much he like just killed me, and like even like even like the cheating factor or whatever.
Yeah,
he was like the guy owned us. Yeah,
it was a stabby cheat at least.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just
gotta respect the con.
But I feel primetime game Bills definitely show up for these games. It's not the team of old. Allen's a showman. Allen is a showman. That's one thing I've learned about him. I feel good about the game. A little nervous. One great thing is we walked away with no injuries today.
Bates might be one to keep an eye out for.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think he came back to the game, but it didn't sound like it was a serious injury. But
oh yeah.
I don't like Van Roden at at right guard, but and it's name led too well to.
Oh yeah, but tonight is definitely a night to celebrate.
Yes,
and tomorrow, I do believe we will start the nail biting and pressure seeking. From our seats, we have no control.
Hopefully, the Chargers can step up and win tonight.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then we don't even have to worry about. We have the 2-game cushion, and I still need to win the game, but it would be nice to have that pressure off, to not even have to think.
Yeah, I still just want to kick the piss out of the Dolphins, regardless of what happens.
Oh yeah, no, and I think Dolphins Twitter presence is kind of making itself known and making new villains out of the Dolphins, the younger Bills fan base.
Well, it's good. It's good that they're good now, so they actually have a chance to make themselves vocal. We're vocal no matter what. That's who we are. And Jason, until next time, thank you so much for being the first guest on Buffalo Bills or Bust.
Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun talking Bills.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man, and look forward to having you on again.
I would love it.
All right. Excellent.
Have a great night. Go Bills.
Absolutely. Once again, I have to thank my guest, Jason Thurston, my good buddy. Always a pleasure to talk Bills with him. Good win today. Not the most ideal win, but a win is a win is a win is a win. Win by 30, you can win by 1. And that's how we do here in Buffalo. Thank you so much for tuning in. And let's go, Buffalo! Thanks again for listening to Buffalo Bills or Bust. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment, and let's go, Buffalo! Buffalo Bills or Bust has been a Samurai Dinosaur production. Copyright 2023.